Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I want to sew a senator. Okay, so this is from our previous video. In case you haven't watched that video, I showed how to cut the senator for children. Okay, and today I want to show you how to couple it. Okay, so in case you haven't watched that video, I'll be leaving the link in the description box so I can check it out. Okay, so I can know how we cut the senator, so that now we'll be joining. Okay, so please do check it out. So I have my front panel here and the back panel and the sleeve. Okay, so what I would first of all, I would use my facing. Okay, I've also cut out the facing for the front and also cut out the yoke for the back, which is also facing, but this time around it will be out, it will be outside, so it's not facing anymore, it's yoke. Okay, so but for the front I'll be using it as facing. So I've cut out my facing. So the first thing to do is to go ahead and sew it to my front panel. This is how I would place it. Okay, right side facing right side facing each other. Okay, right side facing, so that by the time I stitch it around the neckline, I will turn it in. Okay, so that is what I'll do right now. I'll just go ahead and stitch the neckline. So I'll do just that. Okay, so I have sewn the facing, you can see this. So what I'll do now is to notch it and turn it. So after notching, I'll just turn it in. Then I would press it down. Okay, so I'll give it a good press. So here it is. Okay, so I've given it a good press. Now we'll head to the back. So now we'll sew the back yoke also. Okay, so just the same way we did for the front, I'll go ahead, place my yoke. Okay, so now I'll do it this way. Remember, for the front we use it as facing, but for the back it will be yoke. Okay, it will be yoke, so that is why you sew it this way. So this is how I would sew it at the back. Okay, the right side to the wrong side, so that by the time I sew it and turn it, it will go over to the back like this. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So this is how I'll place the yoke at the wrong side of the front, the right side facing the wrong side. Then I would stitch it at the neckline. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and stitch the neckline. So I have it here. So just like I did for the front, I'll notch it and turn it. So I'm being careful not to notch on my seam or to cut my seam. So now I'll turn it over and give it a good press. So you can see it here. So this is the yoke. So I'll just press it. So like I said, if you haven't watched the video on how I cut this, I would leave the link in the description box. So you see an arrow pointing down, you just click on the arrow and it will take you to the description box. Okay, so I'll leave the link to the video there so I can check. It's just the easiest way to cut your senator top. Okay, so I showed the easiest way to cut your senator top, so do check on that video if you haven't watched it. So now I'll just give it a good press and show you the next thing to do. So I have it here. So now, having done this and also using my facing on the front panel, the next thing is to close up the shoulder, and this is how we'll do that. So you place the front and the back, okay, right side facing each other. Place it this way. So now we'll be sandwiching the shoulder. So you just place the four like so. Okay, so by the time you have done this, you just pick one. It could be the front, it could be the back. So you just pick one of them and you wrap it over like so. Okay, so making sure that everything is aligning. Just wrap it over like so. Then you stitch. Okay, so you go ahead and stitch by 1/2 inch and do the same to the other one. So I hope this is clear. Just place the four, that is the shoulders, together. Then you just pick one and wrap it over. Okay, and as you do this, make sure they are aligning. So wrap it over. You can even hold it down with your pin. Okay, just arrange everything, making sure they are all aligning. Then you go ahead and stitch, and also do same for the other one. So I'll show you. Just stitch it. Okay, so after stitching it, okay, it's time to turn it. You just turn it and we have it here. So this is it, and our yoke at the back. Okay, so this is it, and this is the inside, the facing for the front. Okay, so right now we'll stitch the yoke, then I'll show you how to make the front opening and the plackets. Okay, so this is the back. I would fold the yoke by 1/2 inch, okay, so that I can stitch it. So you can just press it here. So just press it, then you fold the yoke by 1/2 inch. Okay, so just fold by 1/2 inch. Just fold it by 1/2 inch or even 1/4 of an inch. So just want to stitch. Okay, so you fold it in, and as you fold it, you press it. So I've pressed it down. I'll go ahead now and stitch. Okay, so I'll just stitch on it. So I'll just stitch on it like so. So you can see it. Okay, this is the yoke. So I'll just stitch on it. So I have sewn the yoke. Okay, so your yoke could actually be a different color. You can use a different color for your yoke. So you can use black, or any matching color, any color that matches your fabric. So you can use a silk. I just decided to use the same color, so I have it there. Now to the front, after fixing the yoke, so now we move to the front. So I want to create my front opening. Okay, so this is how it's going to be at the shoulder here. Use your armhole as a guide. So you have to match up your armhole like so. you'll be able to get your main shoulder folding. I have it there. Now for the front opening, so depend on what you want, but for this child of 12 years, the front opening 6 to 7 inches is okay. Okay, then the plackets, okay, the placket can be as long as 10 inches. So it depends on what you actually want. Okay, depend on what you want, but for me, I'll be using 7 inches for the opening. Then my placket will get to 10 inches. The placket will be 10 inches long. Then the opening will be 7 inches. Okay, so what I'll do now is just to fold it to get the midpoint. So I'll just fold it so that I would get to the midpoint. So you just fold it, okay, like so. So make sure you fold it well so that I can get the exact midpoint of the neckline. Okay, so I haven't folded it like this. Like I said, I want the cutting, that is the opening, to get to 7 inches. So to be 7 inches, and this is where it will get to. So what I'll do is just to open it up. Okay, just open it up to this 7 inches. So I'll just open it up. So I have it here. So this is my front opening. So the next thing I'll do now is to use facing. Okay, so I'm going to just pipe this side. So I'll just cut out another piece of fabric. So there are more than one ways you can do this. So you can just do it in sort of facing by, you know, sewing it. Okay, you can just sew it. Let me cut this out. So just cut a little piece of fabric, like 2 inches. Okay, so you can just do it in form of facing by sewing it, but you have to fold here. Then you sew it. By the time you sew it, you turn it in, or you can just pipe it. So I'll go with the piping. So to pipe it, I will use 2 inches. So I'll just cut out 2 inches, and I would make it as long as from here to this point. So since I have 7 inches here, so I'll be cutting about 15, or let me say 16, because here is 7, here is 7, that is 14. So I'll cut my fabric to be like 16 inches, so that by the time I fold and pipe it, I'll just pipe it round from here and back to this place, and I fold, I'll have enough. Okay, so that it will be able to take it. Half I would cut at 16, or let me just make it 17 to be on the safe side. So you can just make it long. By the time you're done, you trim it, you trim out the excess. Okay, so there's nothing actually to lose. So the width will be 2 inches. I'm just folding it this way so I can measure 2 inches. So this is my 2 inches. So this is what I have. Okay, so you can see 2 inches, that is the width. Then the length is just 2 times an extra what I have here. So this is what I will do. I'll go ahead and stitch it. By the time I stitch it all around, I'll then pipe it. Okay, so I'll just fold it. I'll fold it like so, place it here, then I'll stitch. So by the time I stitch it all around, I'll then turn it over like so and pipe it. Okay, so I'll just pipe it round. Okay, so you can also use bias to do this. You can use your bias to pipe it. It's the same thing. Just place it. By the time you finish sewing, you turn over and sew. But I'll just go ahead and make use of the fabric. So I hope you understand this, because I won't be showing you I won't be showing the sewing, but the way I'm explaining it like this, I hope you understand. You just fold this because you want it smooth at this part. You don't want the rough edge, so that's why you have to fold it, then place it inside the right side like so. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch. By the time I finish stitching it all around, I'll still fold this one and come over like so, and you have it looking this way. So I hope this is clear. So I'll do it, then you see it. So I have piped it, okay, just the way I explained to you, so you can see. So it's not really convenient for me moving my camera. That is why I didn't show you the sewing, but just the way I explained to you. Okay, so that is it. You just pipe it like so. Now I would be making the placket. Okay, so I'll be making the placket, because I won't leave it just like this. I would make the placket for covering it. So depending on what you want and how bold you want it, you just measure. So let's see, I want it to be 1.5 inch wide. Okay, so if the placket is 1.5 inch wide, it will be okay. Then the length will be 10 inches. The length of the placket will be 10 inches. So to get to this point, so what I'll do on my fabric, I'll cut 10.5 because I'll fold it. Okay, then since I want this one to be 1.5, I'll cut 2. So I'll be using a different fabric to do that. So I'll be using black. Okay, so what I'll do is to fold my fabric. So let me use this part. So I'll just place it on fold. Okay, so I will be cutting out 2 inches wide and 10.5 inches length. Okay, so I have it here. Okay, so what I'll do now is to go ahead and stitch it. So I'll just stitch. I will stitch along this part, then I'll leave some space at the center to turn it, about 1 inch space here for turning it. Okay, so I'll stitch up to this point, then continue from here, leaving this place open. So by the time I have done stitch this side, I will show you the next thing to do. I'll turn it and close up this point, this part, then I'll turn it out from here. Okay, so I have stitched it, leaving this space. So now I'll just turn it like this. Okay, still on the wrong side. You can just trim this excess. So just trim it out a little bit. So now I will just fold it like so. Okay, you just fold it so you can iron it down. It's still on the wrong side. still on the wrong side. Okay, so depending on the design or style you want, you can make it that you can make the placket to be V at this point. Okay, you can still make it square. So if you want it to just be plain, that is just the way it is, what you do is just close up this side and you close up this side. But if you want to have it like V, so what you do is just make that V shape. Okay, so you can just measure it if you really want it to be equal. So what you measure, what you have here, and mark the midpoint. So it's 1.5. Okay, so the midpoint will be, so this is the midpoint. So this is the midpoint. Just mark it. So by the time you mark it, you can just come up here, depending on how wide you want it to be. So I'll take 1 inch, come up by 1 inch here. On this other side, I also come up by 1 inch, then connect it. Okay, so I'll just connect it to that midpoint like so. Then also connect this point to the midpoint, to this side, to the midpoint. Okay, so I have it here. So I hope you understand what I did. I just marked the midpoint, came up here by 1 inch, came up by 1 inch, then connected it so that I can just have this V shape. Then this other side, I'll just close it up. This other side, I'll just close it up like this. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and stitch. I'll just stitch on this, then on this. So after stitching, I'll then turn it out from this opening I have here. Okay, so now I'll just trim out the excess. After stitching it, just trim this out. Okay, then you can just give it a little notch here, so by the time you turn it, it will be smooth there. So I'll go ahead and turn it from this point. Okay, so to make it easy, you can just use a sharp object, pointing object, okay, to pass it from this side. You bring it up here, then same to this side. So I have it here. So now I'll just give it a good press. Okay, you can use your pin to pinch it out. So just carefully bring it out with pin. I have it there. So this is it. So I'll just give it a good press now. I'll just press it. So this is one of the easiest way to make your placket. There are some other ways, okay, but this is just the easiest way. So I just love the easiest things. And it will still come out nice. You will still achieve exactly what you want. Okay, so instead of going the long way, if you can achieve the same thing using the easiest and short method, why not? So this is it, and this is what I will use as my placket. By the time I stitch it to it, you just see the beauty. So I'll just place it here now. Okay, so you can see the opening. I'll place it here like so. Okay, then I will stitch. I'll just stitch, then stitch over to this side. So now by the time I get to this point, by the time I stitch, hope you are understanding this. This is it like so. I'll stitch this side, just one side for now. I'll just stitch one side up to this point, cross, okay, stitch my V. Then I will then come over to this side. By the time I come over to this side, I will cross this a little bit. You see this point, this place where I have this, I would cross it a little bit. That is, I'll come over it a little bit. Then I'll now top stitch. I'll now stitch across. Okay, so I don't want to use my chalk. I would have used chalk to just draw it, but I believe you're understanding it. I'll just stitch this way, follow my hand, stitch like this, stitch like this, stitch like this. Then I'll start coming up to this side. By the time I've gotten to the point where I have my piping, I'll just come after it like by ½ inch. This is where the piping is, this particular spot. I'll just come after it by like ½ inch, then stitch across like so. So if you just follow this, you can do it, okay? And you have your placket. You have it. So I'll go ahead and stitch it, and you can see this. You can see how beautiful it is and easy to achieve, okay? So I have sewn it, okay? So first of all, I use pin to hold it down at this point where I'll be sewing the button, so that it can stay in place before I then went ahead to stitch. Okay, so if you can see this clearly, so you just stitched. So by the time I got to that point, I just came after it and crossed it, so you can see it here. So this is it, okay? So that is it. So we are done with the plackets, and let me open it for you to see. This is it. So you can see the plackets. Okay, this is it. So I'll be using this push pin button. Okay, push button. That is what I'll be placing here to button it down. Okay, so this height will be buttoned down here, like so. Just place it here and here. Then it will be buttoned. It will be buttoned like this. Okay, to be buttoned like this, and have it there. So that is it for the placket. So the next thing now is the pockets, which is optional. Okay, the pocket is optional. So for now, let me just hold it with pin. So I have it there. So the next thing now is to make the pocket. Okay, so the pocket is actually optional, but it's also necessary. So I'll be making the pockets. So I'm contemplating whether to use the same fabric or to use black for the pockets. So I think I should use the same fabric, but design it with black. So that is what I'll do. So for the pocket now, I'll measure from the shoulder. Okay. Now the pocket should start about the same line with your armhole. So the armhole length I took is 7.5. Okay, so it's at this point. Now the distance should be like 1 inch from the placket. Okay, the distance of the pocket should be like 1 inch or 1¼ okay, from the pocket. So let me use 1 inch or just 1.1. Okay, so that is it. So it should be at the same length of your armhole, then 1 inch from the placket. This is it. So how wide should it be is a matter of choice. So let's see, 4 inches is okay for me, because he's a little boy and I believe the hand can enter. Okay, so 4 inches, because it's not supposed to be too big also. 4 inches pocket is just okay. So let me use 4¼ 4¼ to have a reasonable size. So 4¼ is okay. So this is where my pocket will start. So I'm just marking it. Okay, so let me just use 4 inches, 4 inches, so that it won't get close to the armhole. So 4 inches is okay. So it's okay. So for the length of the pocket, the length you can also measure. So it shouldn't be too long also. So I think 5 inch is okay. So I would stop at 5 inch. Okay. So this is how long the pocket should be. Let me use 4.5. 4.5. So let me use 4.5, okay? So that it will just be moderate. So this is it. So I'm just making the mark where I would have the pocket. This is where I'll sew in the pocket. So the pocket will just be here, okay? So now I will cut the pockets. Like I said, I'll use the same fabric, but I'll just design it. I've designed the top of it with the black fabric. So now, since the length of my pocket is 4, okay, is it 4? .5. So I would fold my fabric. I'll fold it. So I have 4.5. Okay. So, and when you're using a patterned fabric, you also arrange it to match up with what you already have. So since my design went this way, this is how my pocket should also go. So I'll fold it this way. Okay. So I'll just fold it. And I'll measure the 4.5, but I'll add extra because the pocket will be folding it in at this top part. Will be folding it in, okay? So I'll fold it in by like 2 inches. So 4.5 plus 2, that is 6.5. So I'll measure 6.5. Just mark my fabric to be even. So from this point, I'll measure 6.5. Okay, so that is 6.5. And here I have 4. 4. Then I would add a little. I'll make it 4.5 because I'll be stitching it. So I'll cut 4.5. I have it here. So now what will I do to this? I'll go ahead and stitch. I'll stitch it this way and this way. Then I'll turn it in from here. Okay, I'll turn it in from this point. So after sewing it, I'll just turn it. Okay, see what I have here. So there are other ways too to make your pocket. Okay, instead of doubling it like this, you just cut it out once, adding ½ inch all around it. Then you fold it by that ½ inch and you press it down. Then stitch to the top. But I just prefer going this way. It's just much easier for me this way. It's much easier. This is not the pocket. Just, we'll be turning it. So this is just what I have, like so. Like I said, the other method, if you don't want to double it like this, what you do, just cut out one of the fabric just like this. Then what you do is just to fold. You fold, you iron. You fold this side, you iron. You fold the down part, you also iron. Then you place it on your top and you stitch it round as you want. But I just prefer it like this. It's easier for me this way. So now to place it on your top, okay, you can either fold it in. Let me show you. So this is the mark I made. I don't know if you can see this. So I made the mark for the pocket like you saw me do. So I'll place the pocket there now. Okay, so this is it. I'll place it on the mark. Now you can either fold it in from back like this. You can see why I say you take 2 inches. Okay, you see what I did? You just fold by ½ inch, then you fold it to where you want the pocket to be, like so, and you just stitch here. You're not stitching it on the dress or on the top, no, you just stitch here. Okay, see it? You fold like this, you fold over again, and you stitch. So you just stitch here, and you have the pocket. So by the time you have stitched there, what you do now, you place it on the top and you close up. That is, you stitch the 4 corners, or the three corners, that is here, here, and here. Then you have your pockets. Okay, you have the pockets. So this one way of doing it. Another way is just to fold it inside. Okay, if you don't want to have it out like that, you just fold it inside, and you stitch here, here, and here. Then you have your pocket. Okay, so I want to design the pocket with my black fabric. Okay, so I have sewn it, that is sewn the black fabric to it. So I'll just, fold it here, fold it here, then I'll just place it in my box, in my space for the pocket, like so. So I have it there, so you can see it fits in just into the box or the marker I made for my pocket. So I'll just go ahead now and stitch it, stitch over like this, that is stitch straight, cross over, then stitch up, and I'll have my pockets. Okay, so I'll do just that. So you can actually hold it down with pin, so that when you're stitching it, it doesn't move. So just hold it down with pin, then I'll go ahead and stitch. Okay, like so. So I've sewn it. Okay, so what is left now is to fix my sleeve. So to fix my sleeve, I have to make sure the armholes are matching up like this, so that you have your shoulder. So the midpoint of your shoulder is not where you joined it. Okay, so this is the midpoint up here. So you get that when you place your armhole matching, like so. Okay, so just make sure your armhole is matching, then you will notch the midpoint. You can see, so I'll notch here. So this is the midpoint of my shoulder. Okay, so I'll also do same for this other side. Make sure that the armhole is matching up, then I'll notch my shoulder. Okay, so just make sure it's matching up here. So I'll notch the midpoints now. So after notching the midpoint, I'll then join my sleeve. So I have my sleeve here. Now I have the back side and the front side. So you have to place it, open it, and find out the front and the back. Okay, or you mark it like I've marked it before. This side is front, this side is back, but you still need to arrange it on your fabric, on your top, to check. So this is how it should go, because this side that is deeper is the front, and this side will be for this side. Okay, so you have to match it up so that I don't end up fixing the wrong sleeve to the wrong armhole. So that is it. So you also notch the midpoint of your sleeve. So like I said, if you haven't watched the cutting part, do well to check the link below and watch it. The link will be in the description box. Okay, it's in the description box. So I'll just notch the midpoint here. Okay, then I would join it midpoint to midpoint. So let's just start with one. So you have to open it up like so. I've notched the midpoint of my shoulder. This is the midpoint of my sleeve, and this is the front. Okay, so it will come here. So now match it up. So I'll hold it down with pin there. hold it down with pin. So for those that have watched it, you know how it came about this sleeve. Okay, so that by the time you finish stitching, it will match up completely with the armhole, and any excess you have, you trim it out. So it's better to have excess than to have shortage. If it's short, if you have shortage, it won't cover the whole armhole, and what will be left, what will happen to the remaining parts. So but if you have excess of the sleeve, after joining it to the armhole, you can trim out the excess. So you just go this way. So the most important thing is to have it fitting to the armhole completely. So after that, you can then shape it. So have it here so you can see it fits in to the armhole completely. So if you want to know how to make this sleeve, in case you haven't watched it, just hit on the arrow pointing down, okay, to take you to the description box, and you would see the video on how to cut this signature and make and also cut the sleeve. So you can see we don't have shortage. So if I hadn't done it this way, maybe the sleeve would have stopped somewhere here, and what happens to the rest? So that is it. Okay, so I'll just pin it all around, then I would go ahead and stitch. So I just want you to see what it looks like. That is why I just held it all through with pin and showing you. So I'll have it there. So by the time I stitch it, you can see we'll have it there, and also I'll fold it down. Okay, so if you want the video on how to cut it, you know why we'll have it this way, to just come. By the time I fold the down using my folding allowance, have it like so. Okay, so are you seeing it? It's already coming out. Then I'll stitch by the allowance I used. I used 1 inch sewing allowance for the round sleeve, so I'll just mark the 1 inch, then I'll mark the bicep, that is the biggest part of the arm. Okay, I'll measure it, then mark it, just connect it to the armhole all the way down. So that is just what I'll do for the 2 sides of the sleeve, and we'll move to the next stage. Okay, so after sewing the sleeve, you can see what I have here. Okay, so now let me show you how to hem it or close it up. So let me show you how to hem it, okay, or fold it. So I have the sleeve here. So this is my sleeve. So you can see this shape I have here. So at this point is the main length of my sleeve. So this one is the hem allowance. So I'll just fold it at that point. Okay, at that main point of the sleeve, I'll just fold it there. You can iron it down. So just fold it at that point. So just fold it at that point, then you press it down. Okay, and just iron it down. So now after folding it, okay, at the main sleeve length, now you just fold in by 1/2 inch. Okay, just fold in by 1/2 inch. So this is just depending on how bold you want your fold to be. So like I said when I was cutting it, I want mine to be 2 inches bold, so I took 2.5. So I'm folding in the 1/2 inch now. Okay, so I'll be left with 2 inches. So that is what I have here. Okay, so just press it down. So after pressing, I'll just go ahead and stitch it. So I'll just stitch it and we'll have the sleeve here, okay, like I've done to this side. So this is what it will look like by the time I've stitched it, okay. So this is what I have. So you can see this is what I have here. This is what my sleeve will look like. So I'll stitch that one, then I'll show you how to close the sides and also create the pleats, okay. So now that I've sewn my sleeves, it's now to close the side. So I'll have to turn it to the wrong side, okay, then just match up everything. So just match it up, okay. So I'll place my round sleeve. Place my round sleeve, which is 13 inches. So my round sleeve is 13 inches, okay. So divide by 2, that is 6.5. So I'll mark it. That's 6.5. Then the biceps, that is this side, is 16. So divide by 2 is 8. So I have it here, okay. So I just connect it to this point. Then it will cross across. It will just cut across the armhole. So at this point of the armhole, what I'll do is just minus the allowance I added. So I added 2 inches. So I'll just come in by that 2 inches, okay. So this is where the sleeve would cross across. So I'll just pass like so, okay. Then my 2 inches sewing allowance, I'll just continue like so. I hope this is clear. So just keep going. Whatever allowance you use, that is what you just mark, okay. So I use 2 inches. So I'll just mark my 2 inches. So that is how I'll just sew it. Then when you are getting close at this lower part, my allowance, actually I marked out 4 inches, but I'll be using 3. So I'll just make a mark at that 3 inches, and from the 3 inches now I'll measure 5 inch up. This is where my sewing will stop, okay. This is where my sewing will stop. So the rest will be slit. So let's say now I've folded my 3 inches. So from here down now will be the slit opening, okay. So when I'm sewing, I will stop at this point. I hope you understand. So the reason why you have to mark out your allowance, your hem allowance or folding allowance, is that you have to fold it, okay. So by the time you fold it, your slit should be about 5 inches, okay. Your slit should be about 5 inches. So you can see this. So that's why you need to fold. You need to take away the fold before placing the length of the slit, okay. So when you are sewing, you sew up to this point, and the rest is your slit opening. So I'll go ahead and stitch and you see it, okay. So I'll also do same for this other side. So having stitched it to this point, okay, where the sleeve would, where the slit will stop, now I would fold, okay. So I'll fold it. So like I said, I'll be using 3 inches. So I'll be folding by 3 inches. So meaning that this is where it will be, okay. So I'm just measuring the 3 inches, and that is where I'll fold from. So that is just where I'll fold from, the 3 inches. Okay, so that is it. So let me treat one side at a time. So by the time I fold by the 3 inches, you can still measure it to be sure. Okay, so I have it here. So I'll press it down. I'll press it down 3 inches. I'll just press it down. So after pressing it, I'll then fold by 1/2 inch in. Okay, so just fold by 1/2 inch in. You just keep folding and you press. So just fold and press. So you can see what I have here. So I'll go ahead and stitch, okay, and I'll do same for the other side. So I'll just stitch it and I'll have a fold in there. Okay, so after stitching it, I'll also show you how to just close up the slit. So it is just simple. Okay, so let me first of all hem it, then we'll close up the slit. That is, we'll fold the slit also. So I have sewn it, okay, and I have closed this slit. So you can see what I have here for my slit opening. So I just want to show you how I did it. So I've not yet done this side. So for your slit, you just take it this way, okay, like this. Let me just trim out this. So you fold by 1/2 inch, okay, then you fold again up to 1 inch or 1 1/4, like so. So you can see what I did, fold by 1/2 inch, then fold. So you can hold it down with pin. As I'm showing you now, you just hold it down with pin. So 1 inch or 1 1/4 is okay. So I'll hold it down with pin there. Okay, so that's how I'll fold it all the way, like so. I'll just hold it down with pin there. So by the time I'm done with this side, I'll then come over to this side and do the same thing. So by the time I have pinned it down like this now, I'll go ahead and stitch. So you can see what I have here. Okay, so I'll stitch this way. So when I get to this point, I'll cross over, then I'll just cross to this side. So just make sure everything is smooth. Okay, so I'll stitch this way, come to here, come to this point, I'll cross. Okay, then I'll continue stitching to this point. So that is how I did it to have this. Okay, so you can see it here. I stitched from here, then I crossed and I stitched, and I have it. So that is how to do my slit opening. So I'll just stitch it and it will be ready. This is it. Then after everything, I'll give it a good press. Okay, I'll give it a good press, and we have it here. So all that is required now is to iron it down, and we'll have it. So I hope you like this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. And like I said earlier, if you haven't watched the cutting parts, it would be nice if you go and watch it. The link will be in the description box below, so you just check on it and watch how I cut this. Okay, I'll have it. You can see the perfect neckline, everything lying well, and our hem. Okay, so thank you so much. If you're yet to subscribe, please hit on that subscribe button, and also turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And I know you will not want to miss any of my videos. Thank you so much. Remain blessed and see you in my next video. Bye.